We are going to make America great again, but we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to beat China, Japan. We're going to beat Mexico at trade. We're going to beat all of these countries that are taking so much of our money away from us on a daily basis. It's not going to happen anymore. We're going to use the finest business people in the world. We are going to do something so good and so fast and so strong, and the world is going to respect us again. Believe me.
All right. I believe him, I guess. Joining us now, Sharyl Attkisson, Emmy Award-winning journalist, host of Full Measure with Sharyl Attkisson, and former CBS correspondent, author of Stonewalled. Hello, Sharyl.
Hey, how are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. So, crazy night last night, but not too much unexpected.
Well, what's interesting to me, and I'm not a political analyst,
right.
I remind you, just an observer, I just spent some time with a big Democrat, big Republican super PAC people, Jim Messina and Karl Rove, and right before this contest, both of them once again predicted that Trump will continue to drop in the polls. He's out of it. There continues to be a disconnect, it seems to me, between a majority of at least the Republican Party, and I think some independents and Democrats as well, and the people commenting on television and trying to sway opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And insiders such as, Rove and the people you mentioned.
What's interesting is a lot of times the insiders who are commenting are it's not disclosed to the viewers where they're coming from. And they're often, as part of their paid job, advocating secretly or sometimes not so secretly for a different candidate or agenda, but that's not disclosed. So then they're put on television and they're allowed to talk about their position as if they're sort of independent players within their group when they're really not.
Yeah. So what do you see here? I mean, to me, Kasich can't win anywhere else, and he's got the New York Times endorsement. I just don't see him going anywhere. I think that Rubio isn't finished, and I think it's do or die for Jeb in South Carolina.
Well, I would say that the mainstream opinion, just from people I speak to, is still and has gone with Rubio. It's deciding that if Bush can't make it, Rubio's the next best thing as far as they're concerned. But I still see everywhere I go, from people I speak with, Democrats, Republicans, independents, different races, men and women, there is support for Donald Trump, more support than you would be led to believe, although that showed up last night, but more support than you would be led to believe when you're watching the average pundits and news program.
Absolutely. I mean, he won every demographic yesterday in a pretty liberal state, which is fairly amazing. And what's your take on this, Sharyl? That 2/3 of those who voted in the Republican primary yesterday in New Hampshire agreed with Donald Trump's policy on allowing or not allowing Muslims to come into the country.
I think that's in line with much of the American public, we know from polls. But again, contrary to what you see reported on television many times. And I also think that I've spoken with people about this who've given their opinions. It's not that they think that they have anything against Muslims. They have friends and family members in many cases who are Muslim. It's that they think the government has followed an ill-advised process to date in filtering through people who should and shouldn't be in this country, people who are safe and people who aren't safe. And a lot of people don't think there should be any sort of permanent moratorium, but they believe that we're so out of whack that it has to stop for a moment temporarily while we get a handle on it, and then it can continue again, proper immigration. So I don't think it's as drastic of a position, and that's why you see many Americans supporting it, as
right.
It's portrayed to be by those who don't want that to happen. They want to portray it as something, I think, more extreme than it is.
What about the other side? What about the Democrat side where Hillary Clinton got clobbered? Hillary Clinton lost talk about every demographic, lost women 55 to 44, and if you break it down, the only women she won were 65 plus. I mean, she's in trouble. On the other hand, she's going to South Carolina.
Well, of course she has to go on, and I think she's still the favored candidate in many ways. But again, anecdotally, liberal friends of mine who are women, many do not want to vote for her. Liberal friends of mine who are blacks, African Americans, have said to me and in front of me that they will not vote for her. They're going to vote for Bernie Sanders, or they're even looking at some of the more moderate Republicans. So that doesn't surprise me, although I again say that if you watch TV and read the papers, you would have a whole different picture of what's going on or what was going to happen last night.
And why don't they want to vote for Hillary? I mean, just generally speaking. What are you hearing?
Well, they don't trust her and they don't think she's honest. But I also think I just get the sense they feel her time has come and gone and that she's just not a palatable candidate for them. And I really haven't delved deeply into their psyche as to why, but it's a common thing that I hear from friends of mine. I speak to both liberals and conservatives, of course, and independents, everybody in between. And there's a lot of sentiment that people don't want to vote for her.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I was working on a story with two African-American attorneys down in Alabama having a conversation in front of me, one saying to the other, please tell me you're not going to vote for Hillary.
Wow.
And the other one, they were discussing who they would vote for.
Right.
Where the choices were.
All right, your show, Full Measure. Last week you did a great piece on the rape game. I want to play a segment of a German imam. The rape game is where you have these Muslim immigrants raping and attacking women in the countries in question. Here's some of what the imam had to say.
I heard women were wearing tight miniskirts, tight trousers. They were wearing perfume, and those people have never seen something like that in their countries. They saw it, and they thought they can touch them. But if I say these are the reasons, that doesn't mean I accept it or think it's right. It's a crime.
This is insanity, Sharyl.
Well, to me, it's not, just because I've really looked into this and read a lot, and I've traveled quite a bit and asked a lot of questions when I travel. And I think the average American maybe doesn't have a full appreciation for the difference in culture and societies that exist around the world. We want to open our arms, and we do open our arms to everybody. But there is a conflict when you open your arms or suddenly find yourself put side by side up against people who have never seen the sorts of things that we do and we have in Western society. One day they're living a very different life, in many respects, a very primitive life. And in a day, they're in a whole new place where they haven't been assimilated, they haven't been talked to or discussed, haven't been through any sort of process to help acclimate them. They're plopped down and finding themselves in the middle of something entirely different, as are we. And this is one of the results.
Yeah. All right. What's coming up on your show this Sunday?
This Sunday, we continue reporting from Europe. We're looking at the aftermath of the Paris bombings and how those terrorist attacks have changed life there. We're also going to hear from Karl Rove and Jim Messina, the Democrat and Republican, who are part of big super PACs, about some of their reflections and predictions and how social media is so important, they feel, in swaying those crucial independent votes.
Gotcha.
Really only, they say, 7 or 8% of the population that needs to be swayed, and all this billions is poured into trying to change their minds.
Check out Full Measure, Sharyl Attkisson. Sharyl, always good to talk to you.
Thanks, Steve.